lot to talk about tonight. Of course, most importantly, what's been happening here in Wales, which has been well reported today by the media. We have seen the Welsh Government now taking great measures across Wales to lock down 3 million people. They've called it a firebreaker, but the reality is this: there is no fire. It's a virus. It's a virus that cannot be stopped. It's a virus that we have no vaccination for, and it's a virus that has sadly taken the lives of many people. Kim, thank you very much for sharing. I really appreciate that. If you can share with as many as you can. I'm trying to share it before I get into what we want to talk about tonight, and I'm going to read some of your comments and what your thoughts are. I want some input from you tonight, so this is interactive. This ain't just me ranting about the Welsh Government. This is about you having an opportunity to share your thoughts as well, because we're all in lockdown now. Well, we are in Wales, certainly. I know in the UK that you're in regional lockdowns, but we are on a full lockdown. It's not a fire break. We're not having a break from a fire. This is a literal lockdown. The reality is, as people are still jumping on, ladies and gentlemen, is that we went into lockdown in March here in Wales, and we all accepted it. We all abided by the regulations and the rules by and large. Most of the population did that because we understood that it needed to be done. But since March, we have seen devolved governments like the Welsh Government in particular, and of course the UK Government, taking different stances, different rules, different regulations, and it's led to a huge amount of confusion to a lot of people. Now, we know that this virus, this pandemic, has destroyed families and lives, but more importantly, it's also destroying not just people's mental health, it's destroying our economy, our businesses, those who are self-employed, people who are traders. We are seeing our economy here in Wales being absolutely obliterated by a bunch of politicians who should know better. So we have got politicians deciding the future of our country. They don't take into consideration all the factors that many people have messaged me about this evening, which we're going to go through a little bit later tonight. So what do you think about these measures? What do you think about the statement today from the Welsh Government, in particular Mark Drakeford, who has said that not only are we to go into lockdown, but also that non-essential goods should not be bought from supermarkets. Now, you have to understand that even some of the superstores like Asda, the supermarkets like Asda and many others across Wales only received this message yesterday. And I've seen today, as some of you have seen on social media, shelves that have been covered over in plastic for the non-essential goods. The question is this: who decides what is essential and what is non-essential? To me, I'm getting to the point now where I'm not just tired of lockdowns, I'm getting to the point where I'm realizing that these lockdowns are not working. They're not effectual. For the simple reason, what happens after we release everybody from these measures and the lockdown that we're in? Are we only delaying the inevitable? Many people have spoken to me and said, Rich, I think I had the virus back earlier this year, last year, whatever it was, December. For me, I think my family and I were very poorly. My wife, my children, my 5 kids, we were really, really ill. And a lot of us felt as if we had it then, but we didn't know because we didn't have the tests to tell us. But these measures now that the Welsh Government has put in place are destroying not just the economy, but destroying people's lives. Think of the impact it's having upon us right now here in Wales. Think of the countless numbers of people. And I was absolutely moved today when I saw a thing on Twitter of an elderly lady who was crying her heart out and saying, Why can't I see my family? I don't care if in a sense if I get the virus, but I want to see my family. This is a serious situation, and the Welsh Government have become a communist, Marxist kind of socialist party that seemed so intent on just locking down the whole of a society. You cannot keep a society locked down indefinitely. It's impossible. You can't do that. Not just because of the economical impact of it, but because of the mental health crisis that it will cause. And so I today was very shocked to hear that Mark Drakeford had made the decision not only to lock Wales down, which, by the way, is going to cost somewhere in the region of between 500 to 750 million pounds to the Welsh economy. Now, you need to understand, it's not just about the money, it's about people. It's about everyday lives. It's about you and I, ordinary people. I'm a dad with 5 children. They go to school. Well, they've had 7 months off school because of these measures, and we were told that young children are less likely to spread the virus through transmission than the elderly, and those who are healthy, check this out, those who are healthy and fit are less likely to have any effects from the virus. But what do? They shut down the gyms. That's right, the place where people go to get fit and healthy and stay fit and healthy. They shut the gyms down. The economical impact on this coronavirus and what the Welsh government are doing here in Wales right now is devastating. Local businesses, independent businesses, people who are self-employed, given the fact that it's Westminster that's covering the cost and carrying the burden, the Welsh government think that they're doing us all a favour, but in reality they are not. Countless numbers of people have already lost their jobs, will be out of work, and there'll be no chance of them getting any support. In particular, those who have been self-employed and have shown no profit in the last 3 years, you get no support. That is the reality that we're in. Not just the financial impact. The Welsh government today on the news were talking about a 2-week lockdown. It's not 2 weeks, it's 17 days. Just get this for a moment. It's costing nearly three-quarters of £1 billion. Potentially, the economists tell us it'll cost £750 million for 17 days of lockdown in Wales. Who's going to pay for that? I'll tell you who's going to pay for it. It's not those getting on big fat salaries down at Cardiff Bay, these politicians. That's right, you guessed it. It's me and you, the taxpayers. We're the ones who has to pay for these draconian measures that have been put into place. They've already been given, this is the Welsh government, they've been given £4 billion by the Chancellor. They've been given £4 billion by the Chancellor. And I can guarantee you they have not spent that £4 billion. But what are they doing? They're asking for more money. They put the whole of the country into lockdown and they're saying, give us more money. Can you see what's happening here? Now, I know there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there. A lot of people would say, you know, this is a reset button, that the government are controlling this, that and the other. I get that. I understand what the government are doing, and it is control. It's control that I don't agree with. I am against the lockdown. I will put it on the record. I think it is, these measures are destroying families, they're destroying lives, destroying our communities. And when a public inquiry is made, make no doubts about it, people like Vaughan Gethin, the Health Minister for Wales, will be held to account. So we have seen non-essential goods not being sold in supermarkets. What is non-essential? I mean, just feel free to comment away. I'm just looking at my comments here. Just feel free. Who decides what is non-essential? What is essential to me might not be essential to you. I think Mark Drakeford today, I call him the Emperor down at Cardiff Bay, he mentioned candles. I mean, what kind of a government talks about candles being non-essential? Who decides these? Do they have these cabinet meetings? And I'm getting on a rant now, so forgive me. Who decide what is essential or not? What's essential is that small and medium-sized businesses will never recover from what the Welsh government are doing right now. We were told in March that these lockdown measures would prevent a second wave. Now, isn't it interesting that during the lockdown in March, we had a number of different groups like Black Lives Matter, Extinction Rebellion, we had Jeremy Corbyn's brother down at Cardiff Bay out protesting on the streets, not condemned by the Welsh government, which I agree, because I think protest is the right in a democracy. We should be allowed to do that. And then we kept saying to them, listen, if you allow these protests, there'll be a second wave. Oh, no, we were in control. And the capacity for the NHS, they built all these emergency hospitals, the Dragon Heart at the Principality Stadium. And they had all these hospitals built for capacity. And it's interesting that during that time when they had all this capacity built up, I remember going to A&E in Neville Hall. I went there because I thought I broke my ankle after an accident on the bicycle that I had. And when I went in there, I spoke to a nurse in A&E, which, by the way, was completely empty. I went there as a last resort after phoning 111. And they said to me, Rich, there's nobody here. That nurses, I saw doctors sat outside. This was back in the summer. I saw nurses and doctors sat outside eating sandwiches, some of them smoking a fag, whatever. They were just chilling out because there was hardly anything to do. Yet we were told by the Welsh Government that they are stretched to the limits. I have a friend who works in Neville Hall, and she was on the IC unit, on the COVID section of it, who told me, and her name will remain nameless, who told me there was hardly anybody there. It strikes me that there seems to be a control element with the Welsh Government, but yet they don't translate to the facts. What is really going on? Now, of course, we don't want our NHS to be overburdened, do we? I mean, we love our NHS. The fact that we have free healthcare and everything else in this country, by the way, it's not free. We all pay for it. But that's another story. But the reality is we have a system that works for everybody, regardless of their status here in Wales. But the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing right now is more political than it is about health. It's not led by science because the Welsh Government haven't even published the data locally. They've published it maybe for the main figures, like the amount of people that have contracted coronavirus and the deaths, for example, but they've not really published the local data in areas that you and I live in. So we don't get to see the full picture. I'll give you an example. So in Monmouthshire, where I am right now, in Monmouthshire, we were in no local restrictions, no lockdowns whatsoever, because the rate of coronavirus was very, very low. But now we're in complete lockdown. It is pure madness. What the government are doing is trying to control people, and it will come back to bite them. You mark my words. Coming up next year, we have the elections in May. The Welsh Labour government are screwed, and all of this will come back to bite them. The question is this: what will we do after 17 days? Is 17 days of lockdown going to save Wales? Is 17 days going to save the economy? Why 17 days? Why non-essential goods you can't buy from the shop? And by the way, the Health Minister Vaughan Gething, during lockdown in March, was out eating chips on a park bench with his family. That's right, he broke the rules, and then what he did was he changed the rules. Well, typical of a politician. That's why I don't like politicians, to be quite honest with you. So what happens after 17 days? Now we hear that the Welsh Government are considering that potentially Christmas, New Year, we could have another lockdown. Can you imagine not being able to go and see your friends and your family and your relatives during a precious time such as Christmas? We cannot allow these politicians to continue to impose these measures on us as citizens of Wales. It has to stop. It cannot continue. You know, when I was looking today, I was looking at all the places that they were shutting down. Restaurants, cafes, pubs. And so many local businesses, cafes, restaurants and pubs were saying to me, look, Rich, we've got COVID measures in place. You have to book a table. You have to be 2 meters apart. You wash your hands. You do all of that. Why? And we've got a low COVID rate in our area. Why are they shutting us down? Why? I asked the same question. I'm absolutely baffled. I don't get why the government think these measures are going to help, because they're not. What's going to happen after 17 days is this, ladies and gentlemen. After 17 days, they're going to open everything up again, and guess what? We're going to be back to square one. So what they're going to do, keep yo-yoing, having lockdowns. Lockdown, open up. Lockdown, open up. They have no clear plan. They don't know what they're doing. Let's be honest, Drakeford, the First Minister, he's no expert, he's a professor. Someone who really doesn't understand what real life is about for most ordinary people like you and I, because let's be honest, when you're on £147,000 a year as a salary, which he is, it doesn't really matter. But when you're struggling, some of you are on universal credit, Some of you work hard. Some of you are businessmen and women. Some of you are self-employed. You've worked hard to build up your business, and all of a sudden the Welsh Government come in and bang and take it all away from you. Not acceptable. It has to stop. So restaurants, cafes, pubs, garden centres, hair and beauty, leisure centres. Now, we were told that the fit and healthy were less likely to die of this disease, this virus. So why have they shut the gyms? Now, let me give you my take on it, and I'm open to criticism and I'm open to be wrong. Why don't they just allow the rest of us to get on with a level of normality, to go to work, to follow the guidance on social distancing and all these measures, but at the same time protect those who are vulnerable, the elderly, those with underlying conditions. We know they need the shield. Today, I've heard of friends who have lost loved ones. So it is real. It does happen. But we cannot put a stranglehold on the nation of Wales. And even this evening, I've received messages from people to tell me that there are border checks on the borders of Wales, stopping people from England coming into Wales. Border checks. We have COVID marshals walking the streets, knocking on doors, I've been told, talking to people saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't go there. This is a nanny state. We never elected these politicians to put us in this condition. They are taking control. And it's about time we, the people, spoke out and stood up and said, enough is enough. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of these lockdown measures. When you consider that people have had cancer operations cancelled, people with heart conditions, and there are people dying because of these cancellations, don't forget. Dying because of these cancellations. Because we've shut the whole of the NHS down to deal with COVID patients only. Did you know that today in Wales, and this is really sad, I know, today in Wales, 12, I think maybe 12 or 13 people, I can't get the exact figure, I think it was 12, died of COVID. And that is tragic, of course it is. But the truth, ladies and gentlemen, is this. That's 0.05% of 3 million people. More people die of flu, heart condition, cancer, and other diseases. So why is the government using this? Is there a plan at play here? Are they using it to try and control a population? That's what it feels like. Politicians are using this to get their own way. And here's the thing with the Welsh government. Mark Drakeford, Vaughan Gething, the Health Minister, Mark Drakeford, the First Minister, have imposed these lockdowns right now on the people of Wales. And do you know what they've done? They've gone into recess. For those of you who don't know those terms, basically, they're in holiday. That's right, politicians in Wales now will be going on a holiday, all paid for by us, the Welsh taxpayer. And they've gone on holiday, yes, that's right, and told the rest of us to stay at home. Do you remember when we were told by the World Health Organization that masks didn't make a difference? Do you remember that? And now all of a sudden, you've got to wear a mask. You have to wear a mask. Quite a few months ago, I went to Spain for pleasure and business, and I was out there, and you had to wear a mask in public, so even walk in the streets. But when you went into a bar or a restaurant that was packed with people, you took it off. And this virus transmits quicker indoors than it does outdoors. None of it makes any sense, ladies and gentlemen. We are being conned, we are being tricked. There is something going on, there's an agenda that I'm yet to get to the bottom of it, but I'll tell you, I'm not into conspiracy theories, granted, but I do believe that we're seeing an element of control by politicians that we elected, not to control society, but really to empower society for us to live lives that we can enjoy with our families, but they're taking the right away. Who decides what is right and what is wrong? We are seeing right now an abuse of power. The Welsh government have overstepped the mark. And I hope you share what I'm saying right now with people, because this is important. They have gone too far. We understood back in March the cuts were fine, locking down was right. We all followed it. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, this has gone to another level, another scale. And there is no scrutiny. Our Welsh Parliament is a disgrace. When these decisions are made, they're not even gone through debate. They're not even gone through scrutiny. If Westminster did this, there'd be riots to pay. But not here in Wales. And we the people, Welsh people, we need to stand up and speak out. This is not a political broadcast to get you to vote for the party that I'm standing for, abolish the Welsh Assembly Party. This is about what is right and what is wrong. And what's happening right now with this Welsh government is wrong. What they're doing to the people of Wales is not just killing the economy, it is destroying people's well-being, their livelihoods, and also their mental health. You know, suicide in Wales is very, very high, especially amongst white male people. We know that from the statistics. And yet the government seem hell-bent on doing all they can to make life tough for people like you and me. We're the ordinary people. I am not the politician. I'm involved in politics because I want to get rid of these politicians who don't give two hoots about the people of Wales, who don't care about the people on the street. And it's about time these people who are overpaid with far too much money in their bank accounts, they need to be sent packing. They really do. And we have an opportunity next May to do that. We've got to get rid of these politicians. Now, I know I'm getting angry, and I shouldn't. I know I should be calm and collected. I'm told sometimes I'm too passionate, I'm too zealous, but I can't help it. Because I'm passionate about the people of Wales. I'm passionate about our future. And the way it's going right now under this Welsh government and the Emperor down at Cardiff Bay, who hasn't got a clue what it means to struggle, hasn't got a clue what it means to do real life. Let's be quite honest about it. It's about time that we had a revolution of people who stood up and said enough is enough. Well, that's my rant. I apologise for my passion. I can't help it. And so, we're left in a situation now, ladies and gentlemen, where we really, for the 17 days, where they've talked about 2 weeks, can we buy blankets? Can we buy candles? How the hell are they going to police all of this? Who decides what we get from a supermarket? If I need something for my kids, I'm going to go and get it for my kids. You can't tell me what to get for my kids. When do politicians decide what we're going to shop for? So when I take my trolley out to Aldi's, that's all I can afford, who decides? They haven't got the right to tell me. Who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? And I don't know. I reading comments coming up here. You know, it's difficult, but just comment away, folks. Interact with one another. But you know, I was afraid of doing this broadcast because I didn't want to lose my mind because how passionate I am about it. But I hope you get in the heart of what I'm saying here, that there's been historically, consistently, a failure with this government to really, really support the people of Wales. The measures that they put in, these financial packages, let me tell you, the Welsh government haven't paid for them. Westminster's paid for them. And when things go wrong, you know what they do? They ask Westminster for more money. Give us more money. Give us more money. This whole idea of devolution has failed the people of Wales historically. It's failed them for 2 decades. Enough is enough. And I hope to God, I pray to God, but next year, by the way, I'm talking about the elections next year, the chances are, and you heard it here first, they will delay the elections and they'll blame COVID. That's right, because they want to keep their jobs. They want to keep themselves in a pay packet. They're on ridiculous salaries, and they're on salaries that you and I wouldn't even imagine. And let me tell you now, they're on those big fat salaries, living the life of Riley and telling us what to do. When we are hard-working family, you know, I got kids, I got a wife, we work our guts off, we pay our bills, we do everything by the law, we do everything right, and now they're telling us what to do. It's about time that we told them enough is enough. We're not taking your crap anymore. Forgive me for getting passionate, but I can't help it because I'm thinking of the people that are friends of mine, people that live in the valleys, people who, you know, go to work every single day of their lives. They pay their taxes, they do what's right, they're law-abiding citizens, and they're getting ripped off by this government. And enough is enough, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to take back control from this Parliament, Welsh Parliament, and we're going to do it. And I hope that many of you watching this, and I'm not trying to plug my particular party, but I have to say something. We need to abolish and get rid of these politicians. Enough is enough. Did you know that these politicians down in Cardiff Bay pay their family members? That's right. Yes, they employ their own family as jobs for the boys. And I'll tell you now, I'm going to say it, even if mainstream media don't like it, BBC Wales, ITV Wales, they might never have me on. I don't give a toss about them having me on. I got Facebook, I got you. I'll tell you. Let me tell you about them. The reason why they will never criticise the Welsh Government to the extent that you and I expect them to, or scrutinise them, do you know why? Because it keeps them in a job. If we didn't have the Welsh Parliament, if we didn't have the Welsh Government, they'd have nothing to report on. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, they're all in it together. It's jobs for the boys. And we've got to end this right now. We've got to stop this. And And we will have a chance next year in May if they don't delay those elections.